Official, he is running for president again. We are live in Washington with the talk this morning.
Also this morning, a breaking news update involving that missile that hit in Poland. What the president of the country is saying. And here at home, an Illinois state trooper was hurt while chasing two suspects in a vehicle that had been carjacked. A lot going on this Wednesday morning.
Live from Chicago's #1 news, ABC7 Eyewitness News at 7 starts streaming now.
Wednesday hump day, top of the hour. What's going on, everybody? I'm Terrell Brown.
And I'm Val Warner. Good to be with you. Still to stream this morning, Mission to the Moon. The Artemis rocket roared into space overnight. The next step in NASA setting up shop on the moon. We're going to have a live report from the Kennedy Space Center coming up in just a bit.
Of course, what delayed that for a bit was weather. Finally found an open window to make it happen. That certainly would not happen in Chicago with the weather that we have today. You can see the clouds and the snow flurries that we have, Trace.
Yeah, and most of this, it's really flurries. It probably looks a little more ominous on the radar than it actually is. Not getting reports of it accumulating on any pavement surfaces, but maybe your mailbox, your lawn, you could be seeing a little bit of a dusting this morning. It's been focusing most attention in our northwest and far west suburbs through the morning hours, but I think as we get into the afternoon today, we are going to see even more, at times maybe heavier bursts of some of that snow. Roz?
And you know, Tracy, we constantly talk about this as being a nuisance snow because it makes the roads just slick enough that we've had quite a few little fender benders. Travel times averaging 40 to 50 minutes, but here are several new crashes. Southbound 53 near Euclid. We have a semi that went off in the ditch. Eastbound on 90, the exit ramp to northbound 53. So that whole interchange is backed up. Northbound 355 at 88. We still have that crash. And we've got this one in Glen Ellen at Roosevelt near Route 53. Back to you guys.
Ross, appreciate it. Thank you. This morning, former President Donald Trump says he is in the race for the White House.
Yeah, he announced his third run last night, sparking reaction this morning. ABC's Justin Finch joins us live from Washington with more on this. Justin.
Val Terrell, good morning. The former president appears to be back in the race again, appearing to stick also to that teleprompter last night, focusing more on issues and less on personal grievances. Former President Trump made it official last night, announcing he's running for president while taking jabs at President Biden.
Now we have a president who falls asleep at global conferences.
But he also discussed issues from the economy to Afghanistan, and he did not dwell on his 2020 election loss.
Joe Biden is the face of left-wing failure and Washington corruption. I will ensure that Joe Biden does not receive 4 more years.
Some of Trump's biggest supporters were on hand, but not there his daughter Ivanka Trump, and not a single current member of Congress was spotted. After the event, Ivanka Trump saying, "This time around, I am choosing to prioritize my young children and the private life we are creating as a family." Meanwhile, President Biden, who often avoids a tit-for-tat with Trump, posted a campaign-style video overnight with the caption, "Donald Trump failed America." His announcement last night follows a worse-than-expected showing by Trump-backed candidates in last week's elections. Many Republicans blame Trump for preventing a red wave. The only major win for the GOP, Florida governor and potential 2024 candidate Ron DeSantis, who yesterday finally addressed attacks from Trump.
You know, at the end of the day, I would just tell people to go check out the scoreboard from last Tuesday night.
And this morning, at least 2 groups are trying to stop the former president from this third White House run. They point to the 14th Amendment, which prevents anyone from holding federal office who has, quote, engaged in insurrection against the U.S. Val, Terrell?
Justin Finch in Washington this morning. Justin, good to see you. Thank you. Want to get you an update on this breaking news out of Poland this morning. Poland's president says the missile blast that killed 2 people looks to be an unfortunate accident and not an intentional attack. Because Poland is a member of NATO, it was feared that the incident would pull other countries deeper into the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Amy Kiley has more.
We're going to collectively determine our next step as we investigate and proceed.
President Joe Biden says G7 and NATO leaders agree. They want to investigate an explosion that left 2 dead in Poland before responding to it. Poland says a Russian-made missile fell on a village near its border with Ukraine. Polish officials didn't specify the type of missile or where it was fired from. The Kremlin firmly denies launching it at the NATO member country.
It's unlikely in the minds of the trajectory that it was fired from Russia.
A NATO military leader didn't comment on the missile's origin, but says an alliance aircraft tracked it. Determining whether Russia was involved is crucial since NATO members pledged to defend each other.
The U.S. commitment to NATO remains ironclad.
Meanwhile, a man who's questioned the need for NATO and the G7 announced last night he's running for president again. Former President Donald Trump painted a rosy picture of his time in office.
The world was at peace. America was prospering.
Biden's team responded with a video on Twitter. It references the 2017 white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, and the storming of the U.S. Capitol.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. We will treat those people from January 6th fairly. And if it requires pardons, we will give them pardons.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Breaking overnight here at home, an Illinois state trooper was injured in a crash while pursuing 2 suspects in a carjacking.
Yeah, that accident happened near 95th and Cottage Grove. Jessica D'Onofrio was live from the University of Chicago Medicine in Hyde Park with an update this morning. Jess.
Val and Terrell, the extent of the trooper's injuries still unclear this morning, but we do know his injuries are serious. Now, state police say at around midnight, a trooper in a K-9 unit spotted a white Volkswagen Golf, which had been taken in an aggravated carjacking earlier last night in Chicago. The trooper followed the vehicle, but authorities say the suspects ultimately sped away. At some point, both the suspects and trooper lost control during the pursuit at 95th and Cottage Grove. And based on video from the scene, the crashes were very serious, causing major damage to both cars. The Volkswagen slamming into a pole. 2 suspects from that car were taken to area hospitals, one in serious and one in good condition, according to state police. Meanwhile, take a look at the trooper's SUV. It apparently jumped a curb, went up a berm, and crashed head-on to the tree. Meanwhile, the K-9 was taken to an emergency vet to be checked out, but did not appear to be hurt. Again, that trooper does have some serious injuries, but we are told that his condition has been stabilized. Val and Terrell, back to you.
All right, Jessica, thank you. New information on the truck driver accused of running a red light and crashing into a bus carrying students from St. Ignatius College Prep. Investigators say Victor Santos only briefly tapped on his brakes before the crash. Witnesses say he had been swerving. Police say that the driver's blood alcohol level was nearly twice the legal limit. He is now facing more than 24 charges.
The suspect accused of shooting 3 University of Virginia football players is due in court today. Christopher Darnell Jones Jr. is scheduled for an arraignment today. He's expected to enter a plea. Police say he shot and killed 3 football players and hurt 2 other students Sunday night while those students were returning from a field trip. Classes will continue this morning, but undergrad students will not be required to complete any graded assignments or take exams before the Thanksgiving break.
A judge in Wisconsin is expected to sentence Darrell Brooks today for the Waukesha Christmas parade attack. Tearful testimony and raw emotions started around yesterday morning and was stopped 2 hours later when the court received a phone threat. Later, when it was resumed, Darrell Brooks was forced out of the courtroom for being disruptive.
He is arguing with me. He is now forfeited.
You're not going to continue. You're not going to continue.
Brooks was convicted on 6 counts of murder and other felonies for using his vehicle as a weapon that day. The families of those he killed and hurt had their first chance to confront him on Tuesday.
Emotionally and mentally, I have never been the same since that day.
Who can have a clear conscience after running over kids like speed bumps and killing 6 people? I would suggest someone without a conscience.
What does it feel like to attend a funeral of a child your age? I hate that my kids know.
Do you have any idea how gut-wrenching it is to have to explain your 12-year-old son that his little brother isn't going to make it?
Brooks is expected to be sentenced to at least 6 life sentences when court resumes today.
The FBI has released surveillance photos of 3 men they say robbed a bank Tuesday morning in Bolingbrook. The robbery happened at the Huntington Bank on Quadrangle Drive. Investigators say 3 men with handguns came in just before 10 o'clock yesterday, demanded money, and tied up the employees. The photos show the suspects all wearing masks. One was dressed in a mail carrier's uniform with a mail bag. It's the second bank robbery in the neighborhood in recent days.
Applications to be the next alderman of Chicago's 12th ward are due at 5 this afternoon. The current alderman, George Cardenas, announced his resignation earlier this month. He is set to take a seat on the Cook County Board of Review. His resignation is effective November 30th. The names and resumes of those that apply will be made public. Mayor Lori Lightfoot will choose the person who gets the job.
3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together.
Early this morning, NASA successfully launched its most powerful rocket to space. Of course, there were 2 failed attempts before this. The high-stakes Artemis 1 mission will send the rocket to the moon. Well, NASA tries to establish a sustainable human presence on the moon by the end of the decade.
That's right, and ABC's Rena Roy has the very latest from the Kennedy Space Center. She was there. Good morning, Rena.
Hey, Val and Terrell, good morning to you both. Well, I can tell you it was a truly surreal experience to witness the launch firsthand right there behind us. We didn't only see it, we heard it, we felt it as it shot straight into space.
3, 2, 1.
A blast off for the ages.
And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
NASA going back to the moon for the first time in 5 decades.
Really just surreal to be getting a front row seat to history.
Launching the most powerful rocket in the world into space early this morning, kicking off its high-stakes Artemis 1 mission. There were a few bumps in the road before liftoff, including a small hydrogen leak, a team of experts rushing in to fix the problem.
This is the red crew that is specifically tasked to go out and tighten some bolts on the core stage hydrogen replenish valve.
NASA's Space Launch System, or SLS rocket, will send the Orion space capsule 62 miles above the moon's surface, then into orbit around the moon before splashing down on the coast of San Diego early next month. This is a test flight with test dummies, but if this succeeds, astronauts could do the same in 2 years.
We're going back to the moon to learn, to live, to work, to create, to invent, so we can take humans.
The ultimate goal of this mission, establish a sustainable human presence on the moon by the end of the decade.
It's really going to be a stretch to get the new technologies, the new propulsions, the ability to keep humans alive in a deep vacuum of space.
This successful launch comes after 2 scrubbed attempts, engine sensor issues and hydrogen leaks causing the delays. The SLS spaceship even riding out Hurricane Nicole last week on its launch pad, but only sustaining some minor damage according to NASA.
And right now, everything is working as planned. The rocket expected to reach the moon in just several days. Terrell?
And Rena, before we let you go, we're in an entirely new set of missions now that NASA's working on. How does this eventually lead to human beings being on the moon somehow?
Right, so the goal here is not only to get to the moon, but to stay there. NASA has a lot of research that it wants to do on the moon, and eventually their plan is to actually set up a base for humans to live on the moon. This also paves the way for further space exploration and could help us get even deeper into the universe.
It's really cool to think about.
It is.
And I got some people I want to send to the moon and Mars. Rena Roy, really good to see you this morning. Appreciate your time.
The question is, do you want them to come back?
That's right.
Because you can send them, whether they stay or not is a different story. Oh boy, your live and local news is just getting started, and we on one as we stream out loud this morning. Coming up, the deadline is coming to pay your Cook County property tax bill, where you can see what you owe right now.
First, Tracy's back next with how long the snow flurries will be flying around out there and how long these low temperatures will also be with us. That's on the way.
Well, good morning to you. Some things to watch out for today. And right now we have light snow showers, flurries in the area, but I do think they're going to become more numerous, more widespread as we get into the afternoon, and at times a little heavier, where we could see some reduced visibility for our afternoon commute. And this may bring us an additional inch or so of snow. Be very careful, really, as we start to get some colder air kind of entrenched, especially underneath those bridges and overpasses. We could really get some slick spots out there. Right now, Live Doppler 7 Max been focusing a lot of attention from Bloomingdale up to Marengo, right down into DeKalb. That's where we've been seeing most of the flurries around the area this morning. Also, those of you in LaPorte County, but if you're driving across southern Michigan, northern Indiana, winter storm warnings for some excessive amounts of lake effect snow over that way into tomorrow morning. Expect additional snow here too this afternoon. Roz?
We've got some pretty heavy traffic out there. Average travel time 40 minutes, but not on the Kennedy. The Kennedy's about an hour 5, and we've had several problems. We currently have a stall outbound at Montrose blocking the left lane. We had a crash at Armitage that was cleared, and they just rolled up on a crash inbound at Jackson. So we're going to have lanes blocked at that location too. We also have a crash outbound on the Stevenson between Cicero and Central involving a semi. We've got crashes off the expressways. This one, it just got cleared, northbound 355 at 88, but we're still seeing backups starting at 75th Street. Now, this is off the expressways, Hanover Park, Lake, and Church Streets, and we have Storm Tracker Live just kind of inching their way through that horrible delay on the inbound Kennedy. They haven't even made it to the junction yet. I feel very bad that I sent them there, Val and Terrell. I feel really bad.
Right. Yeah, they got stuck. It's okay. You're just doing your job. When we return, new information on just how many crashes are being avoided because of a safety feature found in some new cars.
And how much will your Thanksgiving feast cost you? Why you may be getting some relief. Finally, when you check out.
I was going to make a reservation somewhere.
Eyewitness News streaming at 7 continues after a break.
A warning about counterfeit goods. U.S. Customs and Border Protection holding an event in Rosemont yesterday, and they showed off dozens of items. They look real, but they're all knockoffs. We're talking about bags, clutches, sunglasses, watches, athletic apparel. Officials say if a deal is too good to be true, it is likely fake. Last year, Customs and Border Protection seized $12 million in counterfeit goods locally and $3 billion nationally.
Some of that stuff looks kind of nice, though.
I was just about to say, I saw you thinking too.
Emergency braking in vehicles. It's not standard in vehicles right now, but 2 studies suggest it should be. A study done through a government partnership and a separate one by the insurance industry found that automatic emergency braking can cut rear-end crashes in half. Most automakers already sell a majority of their vehicles with automatic emergency braking, but it is not required by law. DuPage County has launched a new hotline, 211, to provide free and confidential information on a variety of health and human services. You can call your cell phone, on your cell phone, 24 hours a day for help with mental health services, food programs, housing options, and more. There is also a website, 211dupage.gov.
Cook County property tax bills are due on December 30th. You can now view your tax bill on the Cook County Treasurer's website. They'll also be mailed to you, but online is the fastest way to see what you owe. You can also pay your bill online without a fee or at Chase Banks or at the Treasurer's office. I almost forgot about it because it was delayed and we did the story.
You'll get a reminder, don't worry.
That was and it's due right around Christmas time.
Of course.
It's not going to be a good Christmas. Pay the property taxes.
Food prices are higher this Thanksgiving because of inflation. Many consumers are paying record high prices for those coveted birds. The cost for a turkey is up nearly 17% compared to last year. There is a silver lining at the checkout. Price tags are actually shrinking a little bit for some of those key ingredients for your Thanksgiving menu, like chicken prices.
Right. Oh, okay.
Down 1.3% compared to last month. Potatoes down 2.8%. Apples for your favorite pie down 3.2%.
Okay, I thought you were going to say avocados are good guacamole.
That's still going up.
No,
it seems like God, what did I spend on avocados?
No, you're going to the wrong store. You're probably going to Whole Paycheck.
You meant a Whole Paycheck. That is where I go.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Bring you some 88-cent avocados from the Jewel.
There it is.
The Jewel. And then I think Tracy has a spot in her favorite spot where they're like 79 cents. I digress. Right now, we're going to join our Good Morning America viewers.
Yep, Tanya Babbage will have a news update. You'll see that here on TV in just a bit.
And then when we come back, students at a local high school coming up with some delicious food and cooking up and some powerful lessons. We'll have all that and more.
Now, an update from ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Good morning at 7:23. I'm Tanya Babbage. An Illinois state trooper was injured in an overnight crash on the city's south side. State police say it happened at around midnight during a pursuit. The trooper, who was in a K-9 unit, spotted a white Volkswagen Golf, which had been stolen in a carjacking earlier last night in Chicago. At some point, both the two suspects and trooper lost control of their vehicles and crashed at 95th and Cottage Grove. The trooper was taken to the hospital in serious condition. The K-9 was not hurt, and at this time, there's no word on the conditions of the suspects. Let's get a look at our ABC7 AccuWeather forecast now. Here's meteorologist Tracy Butler.
Hi there, Tanya. Well, good morning. And here in the city, it's been a pretty quiet morning, but continuing to flourish out to the west and northwest suburbs are some flurries. And we're starting to get a little influence off of the lake up there toward Waukegan right now. So basically what we're seeing is some very light snow showers. This afternoon, however, when you come home from work or school, bona fide snow is going to be falling, and it may even reduce visibility for a bit of time. Our temperatures right now, low to mid 30s. We're not going to budge much at all today. We'll see if traffic is budging on the roads with Roz after this.
Now's the time for a healthy start. So let's move. Let's rest and recharge. And put our health first. Let's be well. To do that, let's eat well. Breathe deep. Find joy in the little moments. And do what we love with who we love. Together, let's live well. Advocate Aurora Health.
Welcome back, everybody. It is a slow go out there. 40-45 minutes is the average travel time, but not on the Kennedy. We have this crash, worst place, right before the Jane Byrne interchange at Jackson. Take a look at Storm Tracker. They haven't even made it to the junction yet. They are inching their way along. It's an hour and 25 minutes on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown. They're going to be sitting in that traffic for a while. We also have another crash outbound on the Ike at Mannheim. That's starting to cause delays. Eastbound 90, the exit to northbound 53, a crash with a semi. It's starting to back up I-90. And in Westmont, a crash, Route 83 in Ogden.
Welcome back. Time now, 7:27. This about sums up the day. Looking at this shot right here, especially on a Wednesday hump day. We get over today. Will there be sunshine in our forecast?
That's a good question.
We're going to find out from Tracy coming up soon. Well, making us Chicago proud this morning, a group of young people feeding hundreds of senior citizens. They're all students at Chicago Agricultural High School. They served the meal yesterday after starting to prepare it on Monday. And it is an early Thanksgiving dinner for the seniors who wouldn't otherwise get a home-cooked holiday meal.
And this is the 10th year for the dinner, and it's in person for the first time since the pandemic. The school has the only working farm in the city of Chicago. The students grew everything for the meal, from corn to pumpkins to the turkeys.
You get to see them alive and walking around, and then now we're cooking them. It was kind of weird doing that, but it's kind of like the circle of life, happens all the time.
Yeah, the bird looked good too. The students are mostly juniors and seniors with help from professional chef Diego Burgos.
Nice.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, and I'm sure those seniors love having that. Maybe back in person.
Fresh cooked meal too. It's gotta be great. Coming up this morning, Artemis is soaring toward the moon, paving the way for a base there. We're live with an astronaut coming up at 7:40 this morning.
And streaming later this hour, the Zootopia gang is back together, this time for a streaming series. We're going to talk to Chicago's Bonnie Hunt about being back as Bunny Mom.
The friends you choose makes them family.
You're watching ABC7 Eyewitness News at 7, streaming live now.
Let's take a quick look at some of the stories that we're going to be watching for you today. A judge in Wisconsin
is expected to sentence Darrell Brooks today for the Waukesha Christmas parade attack. The families of those that he killed and hurt had their first chance to confront him yesterday as they gave victim impact statements. Brooks is expected to be sentenced to at least 6 life sentences when court picks back up again today.
Today, the full Chicago City Council is expected to consider a $5 million settlement for the family of a teen shot and killed by Chicago police. Earlier this week, Council committee approved it. 17-year-old Michael Elam died after a traffic stop in February of 2019. According to a federal lawsuit filed by his mother, it all started when police pursued a speeding car. The officer who shot Elam is now facing disciplinary charges.
Illinois lawmakers continue their fall veto session today in Springfield. They'll consider tweaks to the provisions of the controversial SAFE-T Act. The law can end cash bail in certain cases. Critics say that could lead to the release of dangerous people. Governor Pritzker has said a priority of the fall veto session will be to clarify the discretion that judges will have to detain defendants who pose a risk. A lot of talk about that. So we'll be watching that really closely, especially as we get toward the new year. Bottom of the hour here. Good to be with you. I'm Terrell Brown.
And I'm Val Warner. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a look outside right now. Gloomy start to your Wednesday morning. Tracy, is there any sun in the forecast maybe in the next few days?
Oh.
No?
Well, Friday. I think we'll see some sun Friday, but it's not going to warm us up. In fact, Friday's probably going to be the coldest day of the bunch in the next few. But right now we're looking at blue, and that represents snow. And we have been seeing flurries, very persistent flurries and light snow showers through the morning, especially across some of the far west and northwest suburbs. Now, what's going to happen as we get into the afternoon? I think we're going to see additional snow that is going to be with us, and probably with a little more gusto for the afternoon and evening rush. Could reduce visibility at times. Right now, these temperatures are steady in the low to mid 30s. Roz?
We have a CTA delay on the red line. There's some police activity, so everything is kind of stuck right around 79th Street. We'll let you know when those trains are on the move again. Not too much moving on the expressways, 45, 50 minute. That's going to be the average travel time. This crash on the outbound Stevenson between Cicero and Central, it involves a car that went underneath a semi. So they've got the 2 right lanes blocked and a significant outbound delay, 45 minutes from DuSable Lakeshore Drive back to the Tri-State. And we talked about this earlier this morning in Long Grove. Traffic lights malfunctioning Route 83 and Robert Parker Coffin Road. Southbound 83 is backed up from Half Day all the way down to the traffic lights there. It's a big delay. Speaking of big delays, we've got one on the Kennedy, and that's where Storm Tracker Live has been most of the morning. They got in the express lane, so they're moving a little bit better, but the locals, it's an hour and 40 minutes from O'Hare into downtown. Val and Terrell.
Almost 2 hours from O'Hare?
That is brutal.
Whew. All right,
It's a
Russ.
brutal backup.
Yeah, it's tough. Thank you. Former President Donald Trump makes it official.
Last night he announced he is a candidate for president in 2024. The former president gave a primetime speech from his Mar-a-Lago estate in West Palm Beach, Florida. He used the 1 hour plus address to attack President Biden and take aim at the Department of Justice. This in the wake of the raid at his estate where classified documents were being held.
We must conduct a top-to-bottom overhaul to clean out the festering rot and corruption of Washington, D.C. And I'm a victim, I will tell you. I'm a victim. Think of it.
This is Mr. Trump's third run for the White House.
Right now, we are diving deeper into Trump's run for the White House in 2024.
That's right. We are joined by political analyst Laura Washington. Good morning to you, Laura.
Good
Thanks
morning.
for joining us again. This is what people are probably going to be talking about. So how would you characterize his announcement last night? Seemed a little different than what we're used to seeing from President Trump.
Well, first of all, it was no surprise. He's been running for president since he lost the last election.
Right.
He's been preparing for this. He was very subdued, very low key, which is not him at all. He wasn't, there wasn't a lot of rah rah rah, and even the crowd wasn't that revved up. And there was none of that glitz and glamour that you usually see with him. There was no escalator, that kind of thing. So very low key. I think he's trying to set the stage for maybe a more subtle approach.
Ooh, can Donald Trump do so?
I don't know.
That's a really good question.
He can sustain that, but it looks like that's where they're
and will that work for him? You have to figure out the people who support him like his antics.
They like his antics, but they are so dedicated and so deeply supportive of him. I don't think there's anything that can tear away his base.
I mean, what do you think the theme of the campaign will be this time around? I mean, during its presidency, it was about the economy and foreign policy. Where does he go this time around, you think?
I think it's going to be a rerun of his first campaign. He's going to talk about, ending foreign wars. He's going to talk about tax cuts. He's going to talk about curbing immigration. He's going to talk about cleaning up Washington, all the Washington corruption, which begs the question. I thought we did that the last time around, but he's going to reprise that campaign because it was a successful campaign for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I did hear him make America great again, right? So he's still going to keep going with that theme there. He's been impeached twice. He's facing several criminal and civil lawsuits. What do you think that is going to do for him and the Republican Party?
Well, I think the Republican Party is, in terms of leadership, is very concerned about him running for re-election. They think he's going to be a drag on the ticket and maybe not be electable. But his base believes that all the investigations, the impeachments, all that is just trumped up politics to keep him from running for office. So the more he plays the victim, I think that resonates with his base.
So we got a lot of Republicans that are frustrated over this. Mitt Romney came out, did not mince words about how he felt. You've got others that have run and had his support and actually lost in the midterm elections. Could he actually be a detriment in some way to the GOP?
Well, they will say in the last 2 national elections, the GOP did not do as well as it should have done, and the critics will say that it's because Donald Trump was on the ticket one way or the other. So now you have presidential candidates who are not, I don't think, they're not going to step aside potential people like Mike Pence or like Mike Pompeo, like Ron DeSantis from Florida. They're not necessarily going to step aside for him this time around.
And speaking of Mike Pence, of course, he's out now endorsing his new books. He did not mince words either. Well, he kind of did. He said when David Muir asked him, he said, well, there are better choices when talking about the 2024 presidential run. Who would those better choices be, and do they stand a chance?
Well, Pence thinks he's going to be a better choice. I'm sure he's laying the groundwork for a presidential election himself. Ron DeSantis seems to be the front runner right now as being the person that standard Republicans think can really take on Trump. And I think he's definitely in the mix, and Trump is very wary of him. They've been kind of sniping at each other for the last few days. So there's going to be some competition this time around.
Oof. All right. It just keeps getting more and more interesting.
Just you wait.
Yeah, oh, I know, right? You're absolutely right.
Well, I mean, I think it's safe to say it feels like it's been relatively quiet these last few years. If you know what I'm saying, with, President Biden, who some say is sleepy and grandpa-y and whatnot, and, the firecrackery ways of Donald Trump have been gone a little bit.
But they're back. But they're back. And I think yesterday launched the presidential election, the 2024 presidential election, which is ridiculously early. You've never seen a presidential candidate announced this early. So we're going to be full speed ahead for the next 2 years.
And watch the many, many millions of dollars to follow.
So we're going to have more political ads.
Yeah. Yep. All right,
you thought those were gone.
Right, well, I know. The mayoral election is coming up soon. But I mean, you know what? They were just so nasty this last time around. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I digress again.
Laura Washington,
really
good to see you. Appreciate it. So when we come back this morning, Zootopia was a big hit at the box office. Now the creatures are all starring in a series that you can stream on Disney Plus with laughs for the kids and the grown-ups. We're going to talk to some of the cast coming up.
There's the train.
Hang on.
Embrace your body.
Good morning. Well, we've had quite the nuisance, more than anything, with persistent flurries this morning, light snow showers. They've primarily been focused due west, northwest suburbs. So that's where you've been seeing this basically all morning long. Now, as far as what's going to go on for the rest of the day, there will be additional snow showers that may reduce visibility a little more so during our afternoon and evening rush. Currently, you look at the temperatures. We're 31 degrees right now in Woodstock. It is 34 degrees up at Wrigley Field, 32 Highland Park, 33 in West Chicago where it is snowing. Also snowing in Aurora and Sugar Grove, 34 in Joliet right now, 33 in Homer Glen. The snow hasn't really reached areas south of I-80 this morning, 34 degrees right now in Gary. Now this afternoon, I do expect more moderate to possibly briefly heavy bursts of some snow in the area, and we could see an additional inch of accumulation here today too. Flurries around tomorrow, rather breezy conditions coming our way, and then it just gets downright cold. Roz.
Yeah, it is very slow out there, and we've got several problems on the road. So we'll start with the big picture because we're looking at travel times anywhere from 50 minutes to an hour 15. A lot of crashes out there. You know, we had this one up in the Schaumburg area. It's on the ramp from eastbound 90 to northbound 53, and it's backed up from Roselle Road because they're trying to work to clear that semi out of the ditch. This is a very bad crash. Outbound on the Stevenson at Central, we've got 2 lanes blocked. It's involving a semi and a car, and the travel time is close to an hour now, outbound from DuSable Lakeshore Drive to the Tri-State. We also have a stall on I-80 westbound at Ridgeland. It's backed up all the way from I-57, and northbound 57 is very slow in that construction zone. And we've got a couple things happening in Long Grove. Those traffic signals are malfunctioning at 83 and Robert Parker Coffin Road, causing long backup southbound on 83, but we also have a crash at Route 53 near Old McHenry Road. And Storm Tracker Live still inching their way along on the inbound Kennedy. They're in the express lanes, which are not very express right now. That is about an hour 15, an hour 20 from O'Hare into downtown. Val and Terrell.
Poor Joe. He's got to sit in Storm Tracker this morning.
I hope Joe does not
have to use the bathroom. Yes! Lay off the coffee this morning, Joe. You'll be out there for a minute.
But you can't, I mean, you don't plan for that. You didn't know that it was going to be this big of a backup.
Absolutely.
Oh, poor Joe, hang in there.
Zootopia Plus is a new streaming series based on the Oscar-winning movie, and it's not just for kids.
Chicago's Bonnie Hunt and co-star Don Lake talked to Jose Sanders about providing the voice for a bunny rabbit couple.
Take the kids home and watch out for Timmy. He's a biter.
I'm not changing any diapers.
Tell me, it must be fun to revisit Zootopia.
So fun. What a smart, character-driven, wonderful stories, and so artistically beautiful. Feel lucky to be a part of it.
Hey, dearie, call Judy.
Oh, I cannot get the password. No. Oh, hun, face scan. Oh, nice smile.
How would you describe Bonnie Hunt?
Well, it's the best my body's ever looked in a film. She's got 275 children, and I think people even with 1 or 2 kids can feel that same kind of immense responsibility and deep love, and you got to maintain a sense of humor.
How about Stu? Don, who's he?
He's like a knight in shining armor living under many, many vests of clothing and a few pounds. But deep down, he's a hero.
The producers said the ratings were dropping. Of course they were. Look at you guys.
No.
Ew.
She said that? At first, I thought that Zootopia was aimed at kids, but there are so many real digs at pop culture that it really resonates. I mean, don't you feel that way?
I love that Jose gets it. You know, that's what we do it for. It's the ultimate combo platter, you know, where all the different generations can watch it and be equally entertained.
Did you ever get a chance to really work together?
No, Jose, this was during the pandemic. So it was really a bright light in the day. You know, I was roommates with my mom at the time throughout the whole pandemic, and it was so fun to kind of have her at work with me.
Yes.
You know, try to find the light parts of what we all went through.
Don, talk to me about working with your friend here.
Bonnie sets the bar up really high, but that's what makes it so great is you keep aiming for that, right? And when you get a moments and then a collection of moments, it's just the best.
It's so great talking to you. You know, we love you here, Bonnie, at your hometown here in Chicago. So good to see you.
Good to see you, honey.
I just saw the one place in a sheep that has no wool.
Jose Sanders, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, it looks really cute. Zootopia Plus is streaming now on Disney+.
We're back in 90 seconds.
It's finally official. We are on our way back to the moon.
Overnight, NASA launched the Artemis 1 rocket.
Yeah, it starts a new chapter in space exploration with the Artemis 1 mission. Here to talk about this historic mission, NASA expert Jessica Meir. Jessica, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Really nice to have you this morning. It was really cool to watch this. I mean, in the middle of the night for all of us here. NASA launching this historic mission. What do we know about it? Ultimately, what does it do?
Absolutely. We are incredibly excited here at NASA because this first launch, Artemis 1, is really the starting point, kicking off the entire Artemis campaign as we prepare to send first this rocket and then astronauts back to the moon. So it all started finally early this morning, as you mentioned, and this rocket will reach the moon in about 6 days.
Oh, wow.
6 days. So what was the feeling like for you? Did you cry? Be honest.
It was almost a little bit shocking. I think I didn't cry because, we'd been here twice before. We had the first attempt, the second attempt, and this is all expected with how we do things at NASA incrementally, making sure we have everything lined up perfectly before we actually hit that button and go. And third time's a charm. In the end, it worked out this morning and we were ready. And so it was almost like, wow, this is happening. And all of us were looking around at each other just in awe, watching this incredibly powerful rocket lift off in front of us. It was so bright, so loud.
Wow.
You could feel all of the vibrations literally in your body. We have not seen this level of thrust any time in our lives before. So it truly was a launch of an entirely different magnitude.
Oh, the way you described that sounds amazing. And Artemis is the first in an entirely new set of missions for NASA. So how will it get us ready to send human beings to the moon? Because Terrell wants to send someone.
I do.
Do you? Well, I hope to go as well. So maybe we can all go together. And I think that's one of the great things about this program is that we are representing all of humanity in this Artemis program. This first mission is really the final step in testing out the capsule and then also the rocket that we will get ready to put astronauts on next time. So we need to make sure that we have everything lined up, that rocket, that capsule is safe before we put crew members on board. So as you can see, this is a very important test flight. One of the primary things that we're really looking at is the heat shield. That heat shield is the one thing that protects us from literally burning up in the atmosphere. As we re-enter, we are coming back in incredibly hot, incredibly fast, 25,000 miles per hour. So that heat shield actually is the one thing that protects the capsule and protects all the astronauts inside. When this capsule splashes down on December 11th, we'll be able to get that heat shield and make sure that it's ready to protect its astronauts on the very next mission.
Yeah, and then hopefully humans, I believe, in 2025. So we'll be looking forward to it. Jessica Meir with NASA. Jessica, really, really nice to see you this morning. Appreciate your insight.
All right, thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Great day, Chicago.
Yeah, you too. Take care. We're back with more news after this. Hang on.
Eyewitness News streaming at 7 continues after a break.
Channing Tatum is returning to the role of Magic Mike.
Oh, boy. And he's got one last dance planned.
Ooh.
Why are you in London?
I'm going to put on a show at this famous theater.
People are numb, disconnected. We're gonna wake them up with a wave of passion.
Wow. So it seems Magic Mike is headed to London to put on a big show out there. And thanks to a character played by Salma Hayek, Magic Mike's Last Dance arrives in theaters in February.
Now, this is the third one because I saw the first one, but I missed the second one. So I don't know.
XL. Was that the second one? And we're trying to figure it all out, too.
Yeah, so I missed the second one. First one was pretty good. I think the second one was not so good, so I don't know what.
See, this one looks a little less strippy and sexy, a little more dancey. You want body and them gyrating.
Just like that.
Them hips.
Do that again. Yeah, I want that. That snake. You don't do that all too well. This morning we're having an update on the Queen of Christmas, and Tim Allen's returning as Saint Nick. There's a ton happening in Hollywood.
Yeah, ABC's Jason Nathanson is getting us the download this morning.
For the first time, I'm going to spend Christmas with my family.
Thanksgiving is a little over a week away, but Santa Claus is back today. In the Santa Clauses, Tim Allen returns as Saint Nick, and he tells us the series will answer a lot of questions left hanging from the original 1994 film and its sequels.
Why did Santa slide off the roof to begin with, and how did Scott Calvin become Santa? What happened to the other Santa? Where did Santa come from? Is it unusual to have children at the North Pole? What's Mrs. Claus's first name? What's the history of Santa Claus?
The Santa Clauses also stars Allen's daughter, Elizabeth. The first 2 episodes are out today on Disney+. Disney is the parent company of ABC News. Mariah Carey is not the Queen of Christmas. At least she can't trademark the phrase for herself. The U.S. Trademark Trial and Appeal Board has ruled against Carey's attempt to register Queen of Christmas, Princess of Christmas, and QOC. The Grammy nominations were good to Bad Bunny. The Puerto Rican rapper and singer's album Un Verano Sin Ti, or A Summer Without You, was nominated for Album of the Year, and that's historic. The first completely Spanish album ever nominated for Album of the Year. And happy birthday to Pete Davidson, the comic and former Saturday Night Live star, is 29 today, while actress and director Maggie Gyllenhaal is 45. And that's what's happening in Hollywood. I'm Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Los Angeles.
There's a lot going on in Hollywood.
There is a lot going on in Hollywood. Pete Davidson, 29.
I thought he was older than that.
Me too. He has been busy in these 20s.
Yeah, he sure has. And been going through some things, too.
And Giselle is now single.
Oh, could you imagine?
I saw, and the only reason I brought that up is because someone sent me a meme of the two of them together. Because, you know, he's known for
He's the what do they call it? The rebound.
The rebound guy.
He's that dude. All right, that's going to do it for us on this Wednesday, Hump Day. Good to be with you on the news at 7 a.m. Tanya Babbage will have a news update. Tracy and Roz will have weather and traffic during GMA.
We're going to hear from them in just a moment. But from everyone here at ABC7, have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
This has been Eyewitness News, streaming at 7.